We know that the enemy is behind killing, stealing, and destruction, but how you portray that this has happened before, this has been happening, this is nothing new. The only thing that in our culture, it's actually now more than has happened before. I mean, it was the idea that you push God away, and then other gods come and replace that, gods of money and Baal and all of this stuff, and then sexual revolution comes in place of that. And then, of course, when you start having sexual immorality, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have unwanted pregnancies. What do you do with unwanted pregnancies? Well, there's another god that comes in and he drinks blood. He wants blood. He wants killing, and especially of the babies. I mean, and then there's a chapter there, that's most chilling chapter for me, because when you describe the sounds and the priests and the music that was involved in killing babies, and you correlated that with what's happening in abortion clinics, I mean, it was scary. And then you came back and start talking about the other side of this goddess that has to do with transformation. I think you call it transformer. Could you speak into that?
Yeah, there's another side to this Ashtoreth, this Ishtar, and the thing is, it comes with, notice it's all from the sexual revolution. So that's the goddess where you're going to get something else now. And in her, when I looked at her ancient tablets, her ancient inscriptions, she says, I am a woman, I am a man. It says in her hymns, it says, you, goddess, have the power to turn a man into a woman and turn a woman into a man. So this is the goddess, the principality of the destruction of gender, androgyny, merging male and female, blurring female and male, blending men and women, merging them. And that is why we are all watching this in our culture right now. It is a spirit. It is not natural. And it is this exact principality that is affecting everything. And the thing is that it couldn't happen earlier because it was too radical. So, the 1960s America, it was too radical for that. They just come out. But what happens is, as this sexual goddess, as this goddess of sexual immorality, as she gets entrenched in the culture, her darker work starts coming out. And we are in now the next phase. That's why we're all dealing with this now. That's why it's affecting literally everything. And I'll give you an example. It says you grind away the masculinity of men. So now before it's beyond, it's not just the sexual realm, it's every realm. Look what's happening in our culture. There is actually a war on manhood. There's a war on, that she seeks to take men away from manhood, away from fatherhood, away from marriage, away from providing, away from women, And so, because she grinds that away, she seeks to feminize them. She was actually the goddess who hated the patriarchy. She hated any kind of authority with men. Well, this spirit is so thick in our culture, you can cut it with a knife. It is so thick. If a man acts masculine, they'll say that's toxic. If a woman acts masculine, they'll say, bravo, that's wonderful. What is that? That is this spirit. It's crazy. Well, it also says she masculinizes, she defeminizes women. So her job is also to take women away from womanhood, away from motherhood, away from marriage, away from men. Well, we're watching it happen. It's, all this, she was a goddess who was female, but she had masculine qualities. And so she's seeking to make women now into her own image. That's what but it goes further because what happens is now it goes into the sexual realm because she's the goddess of sexuality. So what happens now? She is blending the lines of male and female. So what would we expect to happen? Exactly what's happening right now. Wow. She had an ancient priesthood. Her ancient priesthood were men who walked around her temples dressed up as women, acting as women, talking as women, appearing as women in drag. And so what happened is, actually, you know what stopped this? The gospel. We have a short memory. We don't realize this. So when you take God out, it is absolute. It's inevitable that this is coming back. So we could have predicted this.
So this goddess had priests that were men dressed like women. This is pretty much what you're saying, where this drag thing started a long time ago.
Yes, exactly. Remember, it says she turns a man into a woman. She turns a woman into a man. And she possessed that priesthood. And the thing is, and let me even go further.
Oh my
She
God.
not only dressed them that way, which we see in our culture. See, when you see this returning to the culture, and when
Hmm.
you see the culture celebrating it, you know the gods are back, and you are in very dramatic times. And the thing is that because her priesthood is back, but the thing is that not only that, she also, remember Jesus said they come back worse.
Hmm.
In ancient times, she possessed her priesthood.
Hmm.
But now she's seeking to possess an entire generation of children. She is using the very school system that once led them in the Lord's Prayer to transition them. And speaking of which, remember, she's the one who transformed. That
Hmm.
word transform. Well, not only did she do it by clothes, it actually says that she actually had priests who were surgically transitioned from
Wow.
men into quote women. And
Wow.
so and in fact, I put it in the Return of the Gods. There's a quote where it says it describes the transition men dancing before the goddess, carrying scalpels like as if they're celebrating their surgery. So this is where we are, and this has affected our entire culture. And there was an event that happened. Actually, we talk about New York City. So much begins in New York City with all
Hmm.
this, But there was an event that happened in New York City in 1969 that began the whole movement, the Pride movement, Rainbow movement, all that, altering
Hmm.
gender.
So
And
we
on
we
that
we.
night the night that it began,
Mhm.
all the signs of the goddess started manifesting on the streets of New York
So
City.
we're gonna look at that in just a moment. But guys, I don't know if you got this, if you got this concept. I want to encourage each and every one of you, get this book. You will be able to read it in few days because it's so captivating and it's so real. You can take a newspaper and take this book and pretty much see the confirmation of what Jonathan is sharing. So pretty much he's sharing that this Ashtoreth, this goddess, she has a darker side to her. She's a transformer. And he talks about her priests who are pretty much, this is where this whole transgenderism, this will drag stuff, all
Yeah,
of that came from a long time ago. So this evil
yeah,
spirit, this
yes.
evil god that is infiltrating our culture is actually behind all of this. And then what Jonathan alluded to that I want you to speak into, pretty much in your book, you reveal this mystery that exploded on the streets of New York City and transformed the American world as well as the culture. And you actually highlighted different signs that all
Yeah.
took place right here in the United States. Can you speak into that?
Yeah. I'll give a little taste of it, and that is that one of the signs. It was called Stonewall, and this was a riot where they basically it was a same sex bar, and the police raided it, and the people tried to storm it with the police in there. They actually set it on fire with the police in there. They tried to do it. And they tried to storm the bar. Well, this began the whole movement that we know today as Rainbow and Pride and LGBT. All that began there. Well, on that night, all these signs of the goddess appear in New York City. For instance, one of the signs of the goddess when she goes to war is the lion or the lion's head.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the sign. I'll just say this. I won't go into detail. The sign of the lion's head appeared that night. One,
Wow.
one of the one of the things that it's in the one. There's something called the dance of Ishtar.
Mm-hmm.
That when she goes to battle, she dances. In the middle of the riot, these men start dancing. They perform a dance in the middle of the riot, and as they dance, they start singing a song. The words of the song are linked to the ancient tablets of the goddess. I mean, word for word. I won't go into it, but amazingly so. One of the things is that in one of the ancient mythologies of the goddess, it said first of all, the goddess always and hangs around bars. She calls it her temple. She's always in the bar, the tavern, the inn. She's the god. Well, where did this whole movement began? In a tavern, in
In a
an
bar.
inn, in a bar. But also at the same time, it says that this is called Stonewall. Stonewall is the beginning of it all. Well, in one of her writings, it says you are the stone that breaks the stone wall. The stone wall. It comes
Wow.
from her. And not only that, but there was actually a woman who began the whole riot. There's
Mm-hmm.
one woman. She's a mystery woman. But the woman was masculine. I mean, it was like the goddess. It was like she was like a channeler of the goddess. She was a woman, but she has masculine attributes. She triggers the whole thing. And the thing is, the goddess was called in her hymns is called the Great Storm. You are the great storm. The God Ashtoreth or Ishtar is the great storm. Aphrodite, the storm. Well, the name of this woman was Storm. or Storbe. Yeah. So and not only that, but even the timing, even when the timing of when Stonewall happened, I
Yeah,
won't go into
speaking to
detail,
that. Uh-huh.
but it's linked to the summer solstice, which is linked to the goddess, linked to the full moon, linked to the month of the goddess. It all happened
And which
like
month is that?
clockwork. That's the month of Tammuz. Tammuz, which is in summer, which there's more to say on that. I'll say more on that, but because it wasn't just that happened then, but it's a summer, and the month of Tammuz, that's named after her lover. So I mean, that whole month is named after her lover.
Wow. And she pretty much claimed that, the goddess
Well,
claimed 1 month of the ancient
yes,
world, and
yes.
that month is the month of.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, because this is not just that movement. This has affected our entire world now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has affected everything. 1 month where she'd especially possessed the culture, and so I looked. Okay, what was it called? Well, I looked back in the writings of the first Christians because it was still happening, back then. So
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the writings of Saint Jerome, and he identifies it, and he says it was the month called in Latin. He says it was the month of Iunium, or in English, the month of June. June is the month where she possessed the culture. June, she was the goddess of pride. So June has become the month of pride. She's the goddess of altered sexuality. So June has become the month of altered sexuality. And think about it. But Jesus said it all because the
My
spirits
Lord.
go back to the house that they possessed. So she used to possess the month of June. She's gone back to it. June has gone back to its old form. And not only that, here's another thing. She was also the goddess of parades.
Wow.
She caused men
Wow.
to parade through the city streets dressed up as women. Women parade the city dressed up as men. Parades that just were full of colors and were full of sexual licentiousness. Well, they're bad. They're bad. And they even when they stopped? When the gospel came. And now when you take God out, they're going to come back. So and the people who are doing it, they don't know. They have no idea what they're doing. This is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows what she's doing. And the other thing is that she had a sign. There was a sign that was associated with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the sign was? It was the sign called the rainbow. It's the sign of the rainbow. And the interesting thing, so why is the rainbow the sign? The rainbow belongs to God.
Yeah.
But on her myth, it says that she steals what belongs to other gods for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes the rainbow, and the rainbow, I won't go into it, but in the book I show each color of
Mm-hmm.
the rainbow flag
represents.
actually it reveals the goddess. And so and think about this, about how crazy this is. The American embassy, they fly the American flag. They don't fly other flags.
Yeah.
But we fly the rainbow flag celebrating sexuality. That's not natural.
No.
Nations will celebrate one day of the year to celebrate their birth or their independence, but nations all over celebrate 30 days given to this sexuality, and it's linked to the 30 days of the goddess. That's not natural. You have you go to a supermarket in June and you'll find children's cereal boxes with rainbows on them. That's not natural. That is supernatural. And so it's touching, really touching our culture, touching everything. But not only that, even the Supreme Court, because let me tell you how this affected our life.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court didn't know what it was doing, but the goddess does, the spirits do. The thing is, there have been 3 major rulings that have transformed sexuality, and they took place in a 12-year period. The first one legitimized same-sex sexuality. The second one struck down the Defense of Marriage Act, and the third one changed marriage forever. It altered marriage to become same-sex marriage. So when were they? 2000. It was 2003, 2013, and 2015. Mm-hmm. 12 years. The first one took place in June, the last days of June, which are the time of the goddess, not the time of the summer solstice. That's the time of the goddess, especially, happened on June 26th. The second one was 10 years later, happened in June, last days of June, same day, June 26th, summer solstice time. The third one, remember when marriage, we all remember it, when marriage was struck down. June, last days of June, time of the summer solstice, days of the goddess, June 26th, the same day. Wow. June 26th is linked to the mystery of the goddess. And I will tell you one thing. Do you remember, Vlad, on that day when Obama lit up the White House in the colors of the rainbow to celebrate? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like saying, hey, we're giving America over to the goddess,
That's
and
crazy.
The thing is, That night was the 10th day of Tammuz on the biblical calendar, the Babylonian calendar.
Uh-huh.
I looked and I found something amazing in the Babylonian calendar. It says that day, the 10th of Tammuz, is ordained, is appointed for the casting of a spell to cause a man to love a man. That was the day that marriage was struck down and changed into that, on the ancient day appointed for the spell. And so this is real. It's affecting everybody.